أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله الحمد لله الذي أنزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق ونور عرش أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وسيدنا وسندنا وشفيعنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المأسومين المظلومين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتاب المجيد وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. I begin in Allah's name, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and all praise belongs to Allah. Because He created us, He has given us everything that is beautiful and given us the potential to exist forever. And He has granted us this life, a life which requires us to struggle, a life which is filled with beauty, but it is also filled with distractions. It is a life in which our self has to evolve from the state of nafs ammara to nafs al-mutma'inna. And the brief definition of that is nafs ammara is the self that is very selfish, very centered, self-centered. And it is the type which is very material. And children who are born have this natural propensity to selfishness. We find young children, they're very self-centered. They want everything for themselves. And their friends also are only important because of themselves. And it's about ourselves as children. And even when we are infants, we don't care if our parents are tired. We don't care if they haven't slept. We don't care if they're hungry. We cry because we demand food. And that demand is material, it's natural. They say if the baby doesn't cry, then the mother will not know when to feed it, because it's just the natural call of transactions. This level of nafs is a good nafs to have. It's a material self, it's a selfish self. It's good to be there, but for a period of time. And Allah demands from us over time that we should progress. And we should get out of this state of material selfishness, and we should start evaluating the why and what the vision and the purpose of life is. For when we focus on why we exist and what is our mission in life, and if we do take what is our mission in life as an essential part of our existence, then we will begin to act in that direction. It's just like when you start a company and you ask the person, what do you want? He says, I want to maximize my profits. That's my vision. I want to produce a top quality product. I want to be a world-renowned company. I want to compete in the world of business, and I want A, B, or C. Whatever the vision is. Like Microsoft's vision with Bill Gates was a PC on every desk. This was their vision. Microsoft had it ingrained, a PC on every desk. This was their vision, because for every PC, every personal computer on a person's desk was a software called Microsoft. And that was how they became so powerful and big, right? The vision of Google, on the other hand, is to take complicated information and simplify it. Manage information. That's Google's strength. When Google became powerful, it was because it took a very simple concept and it put it in practical terms and was able to give me results in a complicated web of excessive information within a millisecond to tell me what I was looking for, to sift through this array of data and to give me the simplest information that would guide me. And that's the strength of Google today, until today. While companies were having search engines plastered with all kinds of advertisements, the Google page was just one text box. Simple, succinct, but brilliant. That's the vision. So the question you and I have to ask is, what's my vision as a human being? What's my vision as a believer? What's my vision tomorrow? How do I see myself as an old man or a woman? How do I see my generations? Do I have a vision of what I think my generations will be doing for what I have done in this world? Can I be a legacy? Can I set something in motion so that my next generation uses what I've prepared to higher grounds? If we don't think this way, then we won't produce it. It doesn't come haphazard. You have to have a vision. See, Joel Osteen inherited the evangelical church in Houston, Texas, from his father. He's a very world-renowned speaker, as you know, Joel Osteen. He packs a stadium when he speaks. But his father was the traditional evangelist. He said no. When he inherited it, when his father died, he inherited the whole church. It was under his control. But he wasn't a true practicing Christian. If you look at Joel Osteen, he's not one of those zealous fundamentalist Christians. He's not. But he inherited a church. So he figured out that the way I will maintain the continuity of this church is use this platform and be a motivational speaker through Christ. And today he fills a stadium where there are Christians and non-Christians who attend his presentations, because if you listen to the essence of what he speaks about, it's motivational. He motivates societies. But what did he do? He had a vision. Either he gives up his father's inheritance, or he capitalizes on it and takes it to the next level. And today, he has a $100 million, evangelical movement, very, very powerful movement, but he had a vision. So you and I need to have a vision in life. What are we going to accomplish? Allah has blessed us with prophets, has blessed us with imams. We cry for our imams and prophets, especially our imams like Imam Hussein ﷺ when he was shaheed in Karbala. But the question you and I have to ask is, what am I going to do with his shahada? So he died, he was butchered, he was massacred, his family was butchered. And I feel the pain of injustice that was meted up upon them when they shouldn't have been dealt with such injustice. So what can I do 14 centuries later to be somebody who raises a flag to say, I vociferously condemn the actions of Yazid, and I am a supporter of Ahlul Bayt and Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salatu in Karbala. What do I do? You will notice that even people like, just general examples of people like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It's an organization in the United States where mothers have formed an organization where their sons and their husbands and their daughters have been killed, where they created these organizations called Mothers Against Drunk Driving because they were so disturbed by people who drink and drive that they decided to create legislation against drunk driving, but they needed a movement. And where did the movement come from? You will see movements come when you are affected by it. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving are the founders of mothers whose loved ones were killed due to drunk driving. So you'll notice that people who rise to the occasion, you see, are the ones who suffer through that pain. And they feel that my son was killed unnecessarily on the highway, and I lost my beloved due to some foolish act. But I can't go to sleep at night, biting the bullet and just being patient and dying and growing old, knowing that there was an injustice that took place. What do? They say the only way we can understand the reality of this injustice is to rise and fight for justice. Because that gives us reason that when our son was killed on the highway, that now our son's spirit continues to grow through his name, that we are going to now establish justice in the world. Isn't that true? Notice, Adam Walsh, he was butchered as a young child. He was beheaded and thrown in the river. His father, who founded America's Most Wanted, said, I could not sleep at night knowing that my young son's life was taken. And I needed to make it an article of faith in my life to go and catch criminals for the rest of my life so that my son's death is validated. See, that's a very proactive move. That's a very honorable move. But what Allah is saying to us is, does it have to take a tragedy in your life for you to rise? Or can you rise before tragedy takes place? The most honorable one is the one who rises before the tragedy takes place. Indeed, the one who rises after a tragedy takes place is even a highly honorable person. Don't underestimate it. But what are you and I going to do that this tragedy hasn't really hit us to the degree that some of us may have experienced? So when we love Ahlul Bayt, we say tragedy has struck in my deen. Tragedy has struck among our Shi'i. In Yemen, in Kuwait, look at how many people are being killed in Yemen as we speak. Bombed daily, carpet bombed. Because a tyrant Muawiyah of today is expecting this nation to bow to its knees and bow to this tyrant king. The same way Muawiyah demanded in his time. The same way Yazid demanded in his time. What's the difference then and now? Same. Our brethren are being killed. Right? They're being displaced. Syria, millions of Syrians, peace-loving citizens of Syria are displaced in camps. And their parents are displaced, their children are displaced, and they don't know what to do. They are broken, shattered. Even if they go back to Syria, it'll never be the same, forever. Yet a decade ago, I was in Syria, more than a decade ago. It was a metropolis. When I went for ziyarah of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, you find that it was a metropolis of people. People are peace-loving. You go, you see churches, you see synagogues, you see mosques. People are coexisting. And shaitan decided to cause chaos. Right? You and I have to ask, that bala that is Syria right now, that bala which is Yemen right now, that bala which is Lebanon right now, that bala which is Iraq right now, or Pakistan, or Afghanistan, all of these places, you think it won't hit us? And even if it doesn't hit us, should we not care for that bala? The question you and I have to ask is, what am I going to do? These visions is what gives us vision to direct ourselves, and hopefully our nafs becomes nafs al-lawwama. Allah said, La uqsimu bin nafs al-lawwama. I swear by the self-accusing soul. Self-accusing soul. La uqsimu bin nafs al-lawwama. I swear by this self-accusing soul. You and I should reach that stage from nafs ammara. I've seen adults, old people, still coveting. They covet wealth and power and material dignity. They're old, ready to die, but they can't let go. They love power. They love the material, the one who's got the pound in his hand, or the dollar in his hand. $1. He dies, but can't let go. Rigor mortis sets. They break his fingers, take it out. But the person just couldn't let go. Al-hakumut takathur. Takathur is abundance has diverted you. Why? You look at a person like that, no vision. Their vision is so short term, they are biggest fools on earth. The biggest fools on earth are those people. They thought, the pharaohs of the time, they thought their wealth will give them tranquility. That even the pharaohs, when they died, they used to take all their gold and jewels and hide it inside the pyramids. And they'd put traps in there so you can't get to the grave. Only thousands of years later, the thieves broke into it and took it all out. And today they're being paraded in museums, and people pay $50, $100 to go see a rotting body of the pharaoh. Allah says, you see this? قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ Siru fil ard, travel, go see what happened to your predecessors. They thought like you. While you were busy building your empires, they were busy building their empires. And their empires were bigger than yours. They were so big, they built pyramids, the average human being can't build it today. That's how great they were. Where are they now? Dust. Allah says, you don't take lessons. When will you take lessons? Allah says, be self-accusing. Look in the mirror and say, I am the problem, therefore I am the solution. Don't just say I'm the problem. Wrong. Always say the following, I am the problem, therefore I am the solution. There's never such a thing that I am the solution, therefore I'm not the problem. No. I am the problem, therefore I am the solution. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That vision, that gradation of the self, where we leave the material world. Now, when we're 90 years of age, do we have nafs ammara? Of course, you can't eradicate it. It's not a bad nafs to have. Nafs ammara, which is what you call a material self, the self that's very selfish. Inna nafsa la ammaratum bisu. This nafs is not a bad thing to have. It's a good thing to have, even with old age. But what we have done in old age is we have controlled it like a wild beast. We have tamed it like a wild animal that was tamed. When we're young, it's a wild animal. As we grow older, there's an expectation for us to tame this wild animal. When you and I tame this wild animal, and we do it through nafs al-lawwama, which is to accuse ourselves, we bring about harmony in society. So the ayah that I start a few nights now, Surah Al-Asr, the time, Allah starts with the negation. Allah swears by time. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خَسْرٍ. Indeed, mankind is at a loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Notice this ayah starts with a negation. God says, indeed, mankind is at a loss. Innal insana, indeed, mankind is at a loss. Except if you do the following. The exceptions are, believe in Allah, do good deeds, enjoin justice and truth, and enjoin patience. If you and I do that, then Allah is saying you are not at a loss. Now the word is tawasaw. The root word of tawasaw is wasiyya, wasaya. When you give wasiyya, meaning you're giving a will, when you're enjoining. See, tawasaw, we need to enjoin on each other justice. Tawasaw bil haqq. Here, haqq is a universal term. Adalat is a subset of haqq. Adal is a subset of haqq. Allah says, خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ. He created the universe in truth. Haqq means truth. And when we enjoin each other towards the truth, we enjoin each other towards justice. A person comes to our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I mentioned this many times. Says, I'd like to be a Muslim, but I don't want to pray, I don't want to fast, I don't want to do any of those above. Can I be a Muslim? And the messenger was leaving to go defend Islam at that time. He said, yes, you can. I said, how? How can I be a Muslim without following the injunctions? He says, don't lie. Speak the truth. Live the life of truth and submit to the truth. And the man said, okay. The messenger comes back and he wants to do his shahada and he becomes a Muslim. And the messenger asked him, what brought you? He said, when I looked at the truth, it brought me to you. When I looked at the truth, it brought me to prayers. When I looked at the truth, it brought me to the Islamic injunctions, because the subservience and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth. And there's a rational process in that. Trust me, modern day atheists think they're rational, but they have so much misinformation and disinformation that it leads their rationality out of whack because their assumptions are flawed. And the rule of logic and rationality is you better clarify your assumptions before you go into logical arguments. You better clarify your assumptions. And many times I hear atheists give false assumptions, which leads to false conclusions, which somehow falsely gives them this notion that they're right, when they're not right. See? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us, He says, I created the universe in truth. So when non-Muslims ask me, what's my status on Judgment Day? I say, if you progressively seek the truth and you progressively submit to the truth. In other words, you don't seek it to use it and abuse it, but you seek it to submit to it, you will be in the grace of God. Really? I said, yes. Because the Quran says it. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَ وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Provided you believe in God and the Day of Judgment, you Jews, Christians, Muslims, believers, Sabians, all of you, there's a condition. آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. And you do good deeds. Allah says, لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. No fear and don't worry. You are in the grace of God. So what's the principle? The principle is seek the truth. Submit to it. And when you look around the world, encourage others to find the truth. When you and I meet Christians and Jews and atheists, don't try to convert them to Islam. It's disingenuous. When I want to convert you to Islam, I want to make you a Muslim. The person says, oh, why, you're lonely, you need company? Is that why you want to make me Muslim? You know, if somebody comes and tries to proselytize religion to me, I become defensive. You need to accept the Christ. You know, He's going to save you from the eternal damnation. I said, do I have to? He says, yes. If you don't, you're going to go to hell. You're going to fry in hell. I said, well, thank you, but my guards just went up. Like, why do I need to? Says who? Well, I'm here, I care for you, you know, I want to talk to you. But I said, thank you. Let me decide. Don't damn me and condemn me before I start. Don't tell me you're doomed. By the way, you're doomed, but I've got the answer. No. Say, let's have a dialogue. Let's talk the truth. And you decide what you think is the right and what is wrong. You know, there's a great honor when we talk to each other at that level. This is when Quran says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah wal maw'idatil hasana." Invite people to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind exhortation. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Use sound argumentation. But don't be condescending. Don't shove religion down people's throats. And don't damn and condemn them. You know, you're Hindu, you're an idol worshipper, you're first of all najis, and you're going to hell. I've seen people say that. I said, who said? How dare you say that? Don't say that. That's not Islam. Islam doesn't say that. Islam says we're all a creation of God. God doesn't like idol worshipping. You know, when I was in one time in a high school and there was a Hindu girl and I was presenting Islam, she says, you make a lot of sense, talk to me more. I said, look, those gods that you have in your temple, is that how God looks? She says, no, it's how we think He looks. I said, how do you know how He looks? Have you seen Him? She says, no, it's our imagination. I said, would you imagine your child to look like that? Could you give him an elephant's nose? Imagine your child is born with a big elephant nose. So how beautiful he is. Or he has a monkey on his head. Looks like a monkey. Now, I'm not pushing down, I'm not making fun of Hinduism. I respect them. But I asked this girl honestly, I said, is that God? She says, God is beautiful. I said, I agree with you. I agree with you. God is more beautiful than any beauty we can put our eyes on. I said, God is universal. Can you see Him? She said, no. I said, then don't you think this is somebody's imagination? And it's tacitly insulting to shape a God this way. I know you have good intentions, but is it fair that if somebody did a picture of me, they heard about me, but they don't know how I look, and then I visited their village and there was this animal looking, and then my name was below it. And I said, who's this? I said, that was you. We imagine you this way. So that's not fair. Even if you put the most handsome creature on in the picture, I'd say, but that's not me. It's handsome, but that's not me. It's not fair. So we can't. She says, you know, you're right. I didn't think that way. She says, to be honest with you, when I do go to the temple, I get scared with all these idols. I said, that's your choice. She says, I've decided I'm going to worship one God. Because Hinduism is about one God. We are monotheists, she says to me. We believe in one God. I said, bravo. I said, you know, Sai Baba tells you too. All your scholars and gurus say, there is only one God. So why don't we just focus on that one God? And let's not give shapes and forms.
ما كان لله أن يتخذه ولدا سبحانه إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. It is not for God to even take upon himself a son. ما كان لله أن يتخذه ولدا سبحانه. He is great. So when you have this dialogue, even with Hindus, you'll notice this young Hindu girl now says to me, I'm resonating with your conversation. I see where you're going. She says, but do you think I'm damned and condemned to hell? I said, stop asking those questions, because I don't have that jurisdiction. It is not in my hands to open the doors of paradise, nor to close the doors of paradise, or to open the doors of hell. It's not in my jurisdiction, nor is it in yours. You and I have to work together to seek the truth and ask the one who has the door to paradise to grant us entry into paradise. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So let's have that vision, brothers and sisters. When we have this vision and Nafs al-Lawama comes, we feel obligated. I truly believe if we are lovers of Ahlul Bayt and we love Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, and we love what they have stood for after the Messenger, and we love for their patience, then you and I have a mission. You and I have a vision. I promise, when I go, and I swear, when I go in public, when I'm standing on a pulpit, even in areas where I find a lot of enemies, I find strength knowing that I am doing my best to represent Ahlul Bayt. A small little speck of me, but I'm holding the banner of Ahlul Bayt. That when I'm in public, and even among academicians and erudites, I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of my own ignorance. That's all I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of my own stupidity, my own jahiliyyah, my own arrogance. That I'm afraid of. Because nothing can destroy me more than that. But I'm not afraid of people. I'm honored. And when I stand and when I attacked even verbally by people, it's very rare, but when I am, I don't fear them. I look at them and I remember my master, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, how he fended off all the arrows that came and how he defended and brought truth to the public. Tawasaw bil-haq wa tawasaw bis-sabr. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. My brothers, tonight, in this journey of understanding tawasaw bil-haq wa tawasaw bis-sabr, we have an exemplary role model, a female, a woman of the highest stature who left this world 14 centuries ago. And it's none other than Khadija bint Khuwaylid alayha salam, the wife of the Holy Prophet, the only beloved wife of the Holy Prophet in his lifetime, the one he loved dearly, the one the Messenger said, Khadija and I will be in paradise together. This woman, in my opinion, exemplifies an ultimate role model for men and women on how we should model our women and how we should look for ourselves within her as role model for us. Khadija bint Khuwaylid, as you know, was the cousin of the Holy Prophet. She was born in Mecca and she was the cousin of the Holy Prophet. But she was a wealthy merchant who she inherited that business from her father when he passed away. So she didn't start the business, she inherited it. And then she took it to higher grounds and she became even wealthier. But she wasn't an enterprising woman where she was brushing shoulders with men. She was in the haya. She was within the walls of dignity. And she is a woman who never worshipped idols. Khadija bint Khuwaylid never worshipped idols. Abu Talib alayhi salam never worshipped idols. Abdul Muttalib alayhi salam never worshipped idols. They mention, in fact, Abu Talib alayhi salam, when he recited the marriage of the Holy Prophet and Khadija, he said, we who have been placed as guardians of the religion of Ibrahim when prophets are not present. Look, he's telling us, he's an imam. In his khutbah, when he's reciting the marriage of the Holy Prophet to Khadija, you know who recited the marriage? It was Abu Talib. So I ask you, if Abu Talib was an idol worshipper, how can such a marriage be recited by him? Abu Talib alayhi salam, just a quick footnote, was married to Fatima bint Asad, the mother of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. She was one of the first Muslimah in Islam among the women to accept Islam in the early stages. Abu Talib remained married to her till his death. How could that be possible when the injunction of Allah came that those who are idol worshippers and refuse to become Muslims, their marriage is severed? How was she married to him till his death? But there are groups of people in the world today, even historians, who try to distort the name of Abu Talib alayhi salam because he is the father of the second greatest human being that walked this earth, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. They've got to smear him. But Abu Talib was present in the wedding, in the marriage of Khadija. And let me give you a brief history about Khadija alayhi salam. That she achieved very high standards but highly dignified. She was the most sought after woman in Arabia for marriage. She was magnificent. They say her beauty was impeccable. And she was sought after because she was dignified. She was pure. Tahira was one of her titles. She was pure. That's how beautiful a woman she was in her purity. And the messenger used to always reflect about her, how beautiful she was. That even in the later stages after her shahada, when the other wives came into the picture, one of them, as we know famously, was jealous of the messenger loving Khadija. And he said to her that no one can supersede Khadija. She was the first person who accepted Islam when God commanded me to announce it in public. She was already a Muslim. She was already a Muslimah, but she publicly accepted Islam when the mission started. The messenger said she was the first one to believe in my truthfulness when others did not accept it. She was the first one to believe in my truthfulness. She consoled me, she protected me, she defended me, and she expended all her wealth for the love of God. Who can supersede Khadija? The Prophet used to reply. Who can supersede this woman that her and I will be in paradise together? That's how much Khadija was. Now we think that in Islam, men are the financiers. Typically we are men, because Allah has commanded the men to go out and earn a living. But interestingly and ironically, it was a woman, Khadija, none other than her, who financed all of Islam. Today's Islam that we have, and the growth of Islam, and the perfection of Islam as it has reached the day Imam Ali alayhi salam was given his successorship, that financing came from Khadija alayhi salam. So let us not second think about our women and second guess our women into thinking that they are second class citizens. No, the Quran does not distinguish their differences. When it comes to male and female, in the same surah that I'm discussing, يا أيها الناس إن خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we made you male and female, nations and tribes, so you know each other. But the most honorable among you to God is one who is God conscious. So indeed, Khadija alayhi salam is most honorable to Allah. Hands down, she's a woman. But today in society, as much as women are fighting for their rights, and sometimes excessively, men are also bullies and belligerent. Today, we find men who beat their wives in their homes. They come religious, pious in the masjid. They come standing in line, prayerful, but then they are harsh to their wives because they're weaker. They are the weaker of the gender. And generally, when it comes to corporal punishment, what we call spousal abuse, we see that it's usually the man who is the abuser. This is haram. And then the person has the audacity, some of us within Islam, we have the temerity, as we say, to quote an ayah of the Quran, فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, that we have the authority to beat our wives. Who gave you this authority? I beg to differ, and I dare you to come forward and stand on the platform and present this nonsense argument that I've been given the right to beat my wife. Haram. We see this today. I travel the globe. I see mothers come to me, sisters come to me, husbands come to me where their wives are beating them. Who has authorized beating? Which Islam has allowed with impunity that you can come and beat and strike anyone? This is a person who doesn't know Allah. This is a person who is abusing the religion of Allah. It is haram to have this. Our prophets and our imams were gentle. They never even struck an animal. The messenger used to carry a stick. He used to touch his animal, never strike it. Never did he strike it once. Whereas an animal, one could say, has the right to be struck because it's an animal. Even then the messengers didn't do it. Who gave us the impunity? Who gave us this right to come and strike each other? This is not tawasaw bil haqq. This is not tawasaw bil sabr. This is khasara. The Quran negates followed by an exception. Just quick example. I'll continue with Khadija alayhi salam. You will notice that when the Quran negates followed by an exception, it leaves no room for argument. Whenever there's an ayah with a negation followed by an exception, the Quran is leaving no room for arguments. It's making a very strong message. Whenever God negates, like La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah, this becomes very powerful. Because Allah is saying there is no room for argument. You cannot say that there is a God out there. Allah says there is no God but Allah. That's very powerful. You notice when the Quran says, La as'alukum alayhi ajran. I want no reward from you. The messenger, when he was asked, what reward can we give you? He negated everything. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا. I want no reward from you. إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَةِ. Except that you have mawadda with my near ones. Because that's Islam. When you have mawadda of the near ones, you will maintain Allah, you will maintain the Quran, you will maintain Salah, and you will follow the Holy Prophet. Mawadda. What is mawadda in Arabic? Mutual love. Mutual, meaning they've already loved us, now it's upon us to love them. That's mawadda. Even marriage, Allah uses mawadda. وَمِنْ آيَاتٍ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And of His signs is He made mates from yourselves. And He put mawadda and mercy. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمِ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. These are signs for a community that thinks. Mawadda. That means when couple get married, it's mawadda, mutual. Doesn't mean you can strike your wife or you can strike your husband and you can beat your children. No, mutual love. Do unto others as you want done unto you. What do you think bullies are? Bullies, today our children suffer a lot in schools with bullying. Some kids have even killed themselves because they've been bullied so much. And today we have cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is very popular these days, where people taunt you online and they belittle you online. And children have gone mad to the extent that they have shut their doors and not left their homes because of their fear of bullying. Who usually bullies? The individual who lacks confidence in Allah. What I call a wretched troublemaker. And who usually you think they bully? They bully victims who are easily bullied. You'll generally find women who get battered by their husbands are usually the ones who can receive the battering. And sadly, those women, when they're being battered, they love their husbands so much that while they turn black and blue, they still don't quit loving their husbands because they feel it is their right to love their husbands. And the husband knows that no matter how much I beat this woman, she will keep loving me, to the extent that the husbands even threaten them that if you leave me, I'll kill you. Is that mawadda? Is this the love? We claim to love Ahlul Bayt. Tell me which Ahlul Bayt, which prophet practiced this? Which prophet did this haram act? Khadija and the Holy Prophet were beloved companions. She took her wealth and spent it all for Islam. And she financed all of Islam. To the extent that when she died, she didn't have even one piece of gold in her hand. She didn't even have money for kafan. Did you know that? You know the shroud that she's buried in? She didn't even have that money for that. Did you know that? That's how much she expended. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look at these individuals. فِي بُيُوتٍ أَذِنَ اللَّهِ أَن تُرْفَعَ وَيُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ فِيهَا بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْآصَالِ رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ. This ayah in Surah An-Nur, Allah exemplifies houses which God has honored and they are remembered. He is remembered through them. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه. That is, when we mention Ahlul Bayt, Allah says this is ibadah. Because when you mention Ahlul Bayt, you mention me. Why? Because I sent the best role models. Why? So you practice that. It's not only a theory in the Quran, it's Quran al-Natiq. Our prophets and our imams are Quran al-Natiq. The Holy Prophet is the walking, talking Quran. Ahlul Bayt are the walking, talking Quran. We say the Quran is infallible. Therefore we know the Ahlul Bayt and the Prophets are infallible. Because they are the walking, talking Quran. They have to be infallible. But when we give lip service to them and we say how great they were, why don't we practice that? And then in the garb of religion, we come and pray. I was in Africa one time, and I heard a group of older men, abusing young children in haram ways. And I see them on the front line of the prayers. It's repulsive to see that. Allah says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Woe to that prayerful one. When he abuses, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ. They give ta'am, who? The believers. But who's the one on the opposite side? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. The Ashab al-Fil, the community of Fil. Is the Quran saying, have you seen what we did to the Ashab al-Fil? Go and see. When they were upstanding there with their arrogance, Allah destroyed them. How about the one who claims to be religious? أَرَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Have you seen the one who belies the religion? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُّعُ الْيَتِيمِ. The one who is an enemy of the orphans. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. They hold back the food for the hungry, for the poor. Allah says, look at these groups. This group that's arrogant, thinking they've got elephants they can take. This group that they think that they can come in the front, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. They can come and be prayerful. Allah says, where is your tawasaw bil-haq? Where is your tawasaw bil-sabr? When I send prophets and examples for you as the best role models, you're using religion for a joke? That's why there's apathy in our societies today. That when we see people who claim to be within religion, but when they don't practice, the next generation says, why should I follow? If this very person on the front line leading prayers is molesting children, beating his wife, robbing the people, or in business cheating every single day, but then he comes prayerful and looks very pious, the child says, you know what, I don't want that. That's hypocrisy. This is why many a time when I look at our young generations and they have no desire to pray, it's because they say, we see too much hypocrisy. I said, you see hypocrisy, that means you see good in it. But people are not practicing it. My advice to you is take the good and give up the hypocrisy. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I'm speaking on many fronts here tonight. But I see Khadija alayhi salam as one of the four, she's undoubtedly one of the four chosen women of the world. As you know, Asya bint Muzahim, Maryam bint Imran, Khadija bint Khuwaylid, as we're discussing, alayhi salam, and of course Fatimah az-Zahra, salamullahi alayha. What fascinates me is these great women are exemplary role models. Look for example, you look at Asya bint Muzahim, the wife of Fir'aun. You couldn't get a more treacherous man mentioned in the Quran than than Fir'aun. Treacherous man. Yet she's married to this treacherous tyrant. And Allah shows an example. ضرب الله مثلا للذين كفروا امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط كان تحت عبدين من عبادنا صالحين فخانتاهما. We give you an example. Surah At-Tahrim, Surah number 66. Read it. It talks about womanhood. It talks about the wives of the Prophet. And it shows the exemplary role model that Allah has raised among women. That they carry the banner of Islam. That they are not second-class citizens. They are like the other side of the bird's wing. The bird has two wings. Neither side can be flipped across. Each side is essential for the bird to fly. And each side needs to flap. And if you cut one side, it can't fly. It will go into a tailspin. Both sides need to fly, and both sides need to be given their freedom for the freedom of that bird, which is the individual. The individual society is made up of men and women. Today, we marginalize our women. Even within our Muslim communities, especially in our Eastern countries, we see them as second-class citizens. That if a girl refuses to get married, we throw acid on her face. Not we, those foolish people. They throw acid on their faces because then they don't want anyone to marry them. This is haram. God will punish them. This is dhalam. This is khasara. Or we see women as not intelligent. No, women are intelligent. You look at Fatimah az-Zahra, salamullahi alayha, when she spoke, when her fadak was taken, and she went to the court of Abu Bakr, and she spoke, people were stunned by her wisdom. She was the female prophet representative. Remember that. The Prophet says, Fatima bid'at minni. She is of me. Ummi abiha. She is the mother of her father. And when she would walk in the room, the Prophet would stand up. Even when she was in the womb of Khadija, When Khadija alayhi salam would walk, the Prophet would stand up. Not only for Khadija, but for Fatima al-Zahra. That is the akhlaq of Rasulullah. The akhlaq of Rasulullah is to see both genders with barakah, with rahmah, with ni'mah. Our women today, as much as they are blessed with the freedoms of not having necessarily, from the injunction of Allah, to have to go out and make a living. Today our women are busy doing mundane things when they should be acquiring knowledge. They are the mothers of our children. They are busy gossiping. One thing I must say, when I speak in public, you'll find our sisters mature much faster than brothers. Usually in gatherings, it's the girls who sit and carefully listen. Young one. These young boys usually are rambunctious. They have very little time. They generally have, little attention, and then they want to run. They want to kick each other, jump and punch and run and do flips. But the sisters generally will sit and they'll talk and they'll discuss and they'll reflect, because motherhood sets early in them. That's why their maturity is early. But I always advise our sisters that you are the mothers of our children. You are some of the most powerful people, no doubt besides fathers, in our societies. If you do not acquire knowledge and you do not abstain from gossiping and fault finding and revelry in garbs and showing off your jewelries and your fashions and indulge in positive, proactive lifestyle, our generations will be improved. There's a brother in Dubai, he says to me, every Thursday my business goes up with diamonds and gold. He works at Damas, the jeweler. I said, really, why? He says, your community, all the women come in, the wealthy, and they buy jewels every Thursday. I said, really? He says, yeah, they have to show off. Whatever chain they wear, it's old-fashioned now, they have to wear something new. I said, I can't imagine within 52 weeks how much jewel they must have accumulated just to show off on Thursday nights for Dua Kumel. Stop that. It's not where you're important, sisters. Where you're important is intelligence. The messengers say the most beautiful thing a